What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Lefty's Simple Thoughts. I know it's been quite some time since I've done one of these, but I'm trying to get back on the horse and getting them done. You guys seem to like them, the little shorter videos. Unfortunately, this is a video that I never wanted to have to make, but I think we have to talk about it. All right, everybody. So by the time you're reading this, you've already seen the title or thumbnail of this video, and it's called Do We Need RCCAR? If you guys don't know who RCCAR is, it's the sanctioning body of RCCARs in the USA, in North America. So they represent Canada and, of course, the USA. I say I never wanted to make this video because I have been the biggest advocate of RCCAR from the beginning. I fundamentally believe in the sanctioning bodies. I'm actually very jealous of the Europeans because they actually have a very good functioning body over there in EFRA. And then, of course, it's a little different over there in Europe because they have different countries. So each country has its own federation. So it's a little bit different. EFRA has its issues. IFMAR has its issues. Every federation has its issues. So the reason I'm making this video is because I've just kind of, over the last year, had an inside look into how things go on in RCCAR. So I have to retract a little bit here as well. I know a lot of you are thinking this is all about what happened this past weekend with the on-road nats with Elite RC Productions and RCCAR, as well as the track. I just want to say that in this instance, I don't think the track is at fault. I don't think Elite is at fault of the situation that happened. I think that the situation that happened at the on-road nats is 100% on RCCAR, and particularly, I believe, in this case, the president, Clayton, for lack of communication. The reaction from the track and the reaction from Elite is their responsibility. Do I wish that could have been handled better? Of course. But I'll talk more about that and lay out the situation with Max and Roach on our podcast, which we're going to do this week, which is going to be a DNC recap and everything else that's been going on. I want to lay it out because I want to have a proper conversation, and I want to lay it out as objectively and as neutral as possible, because obviously you guys know I'm affiliated with Elite. So out of that situation, I'm very disappointed in what happened, but the biggest disappointment I had from that situation was actually with Lance McDonald resigning his position from RCCAR. For me, this is a big blow to RCCAR. And I think for RCCAR, they understand that it's a big blow for them as well. I know when Clayton got involved in the presidency, because if a lot of you don't know, I was very much involved in helping getting Clayton, the podcast was very much involved in helping getting Clayton acknowledged, and people seeing him in the off-road public kind of seen him, and I had him on the podcast. We've had him quite a few times on the podcast. And I like Clayton. I think he has really good ideas and a lot of things, and I think he wants to progress things forward in RC and in RCCAR, excuse me if I say that wrong. But I kind of see how things go in RCCAR now, and I've kind of changed my thinking on that. I know one of the big things Clayton said, he wanted to get people like Lance involved. And we did. I pushed hard, myself, Danny Paz, was very much involved with Clayton. We pushed Lance to get involved in RCCAR, and Lance begrudgingly did it after having some bad experiences with RCCAR when he held his own 2018 Nationals Fuel Nats in Southside. Over the last year, I've kind of had an inside look through his eyes of what's actually going on in the federation, the pitfalls, the bureaucracy, that type of stuff. It's not easy. You know, you're dealing with a committee. I understand that RCCAR is underfunded. I understand that RCCAR is understaffed. I understand that RCCAR wants to do things, but they just don't have it right now. And I believe Lance had a lot of good ideas because he's in the trenches in the off-road community. We also have Brent on there as well, who is another one that's there, and Vin Manchad. I think those guys represent off-road really well. Unfortunately, with Lance going out, those ideas go. And what I mean is that he has good ideas is that you got to understand that this man is an RD. He's doing race promotion. He has his own successful series 2 going in Florida, all with media coverage. He's doing a media coverage team. He does some of the biggest races in the world in the Southeast as an RD and as a media company. So I would say that Lance has some experience. He has his finger on the pulse of the off-road RC community, at least on the East Coast, in one of the biggest regions for 8 scale. He definitely has his finger on the pulse of RC and is well liked by some and hated by others as an RD. So, but he's generally well liked person. Was a very positive influence for Raw. Lance also does what he says. I've seen Lance build driver stands for tracks. I've seen him show up to a track that's he's paying for to rent their facility for his series and show up with pipe, nails, and everything needed to fix it. So he's out there in the mix, in the trenches. So have I been, and that goes for me too. I'm not out there building driver stands, but I've been out in the trenches at these races, talking to the RC people, and getting a good feel of what's going on. So this brings me to my point. As I've watched the things happen between Raw and kind of behind the scenes, and just looking at this situation from afar, I just came to the conclusion that after this weekend, and I watched the numbers, so we had the DNC going on this weekend, which is arguably one of the biggest races in off-road, if not the biggest, probably second biggest race to the world. Has a lot of international competition. Had every top racer pretty much in there in the world. They're racing, had great media coverage from Live RC. We was able to watch it. And then I watched, I think during Truggy on Saturday night, there was 2,500 to 3,000 people watching, I think, just on YouTube. I don't know what the numbers were on Facebook, but it's safe to say there was probably there had to be a few thousand people watching that race. And then I kind of looked at the on-road nationals that were going on. And this is no disrespect to the media company that put them on, or even to Raw, or even to any of that, but the numbers were very low. I think it was 50, 60 people watching that. Now, of course, they were competing with DNC. You can't compare that, but let's give it on a good day, there were 500 people watching the on-road nationals if this wasn't DNC. Anywho, I think something clicked when I saw that. And I was like, hey, maybe we should stop looking at Raw as the people that's going to lead us to the future and go forward. And more just look at them as, hey, we like your rules. We like your nationals. We want to go to the worlds. We'll do that. We'll support you on that. But as to go forward, I think us in the off-road community, we're already years ahead of them. I really believe so. I mean, just look at this weekend. Our production versus their production. Our race, when I say our race, the off-road's race in America versus theirs. We're obviously way ahead. Let's be realistic. The biggest race that they're going to have, most popular race they're going to have, is going to be the 1/8 scale nationals at Thornhill this weekend, especially now that they have the e-buggy and nitro buggy classes combined. Great idea by Raw, by the way. I applaud you on that. So I really started to think, do we need Raw in order to go forward? Yes and no is the answer for that. Do we need a sanctioning body that has our best interest in heart and wants to help grow RC on a grassroots level and work with manufacturers and doing that as well, and work with race promoters and ongoing races? Absolutely, we need that. Is that going to come from Raw? I don't think so. What can we take from Raw? What is Raw good at? Rule set, all that type of stuff. I like Raw's rules. I love the RMT that they send to races. I love the nationals. I love the worlds. I love all of that stuff. I love that. That's what Raw is good at. They're good at making rules. They're good at enforcing those rules to an extent. Obviously, they make mistakes at races as well, and we criticize them, but they're good for that as well at a race. Sending an RMT team in there, running a race, and getting things done, staying on schedule and doing things. Are they great at that? Good at the rule stuff? Not so great at there's an opinion if they're good at running races or not, but I personally think they run their races pretty good. But as for a race promoter, I think that's where they fail. As for having ideas to go forward, I think that's where they fail. And it's not that they don't want to do it. I just think they don't know how to do it. I believe Clayton wants to go forward, and I believe Clayton wants to put a lot of emphasis, I know in our conversation, on the media and the content side of things, because he gets that. That's important. That is very important to what's going to help grow RC, or just at least help us sustain a healthier habitat than what we got going on, a little bit healthier habitat with a steady stream of people coming in. He gets that. The only issue is, I think they don't know how to achieve that. And I think what's happened is that in the board members and some of the board members that are involved probably don't see big value in that. which I understand because they're looking at it as more money we have to spend out. We need to focus on the rules and regulations because that's what we're good at. And that's fine. Where does this leave us? Let's take a look at it. Off-road. We have some of the biggest races in RC. In fact, PNB is coming up in a month's time where all these top guys plus some Europeans are coming over to race. It's going to have great media coverage, interviews, live stream, written reports, all this type of stuff, all done by off-road guys. Nothing to do with Raw whatsoever, ever. Next up, we have Silver State. That's going to be a huge race. Another great task where they're going to have great media, hundreds of people coming to race, lots of entries, big race at a hotel in Vegas, international people coming in, great coverage. Guess what? Roar didn't do that. Off-road RC did that. Look at, everybody says, let's have a series. Let's do that. Let's do this. Do you know how hard it would be to have a national series right now? Roar can't do it. They can't even get dates. They can just about get dates to put their races on, which we need. I would not suggest anybody trying to start a national series at this moment. But guess what? Off-road has everything we need to have a national series. In 10 scale, we have a few national series going on. I just attended one, the INS, that goes on carpet and dirt over 5 races with 3 drops. That's unofficially a national series with rules and regulations, run great, where the tracks make money, where and the sponsors get exposure, and the racers get great media coverage, and that's a production for, and that's content that can be used to push on the algorithm to get more people to RC. In 8 scale, we don't necessarily have a national series. We have lots of series going around. JBRL out in California, been going on for years and years and years. Up in the Pacific Northwest, we have the, it's not called, I think it's called the Rage Tour now. We have the Work Series going on down there in Florida. We have the Florida RC Championships. In the Southeast, we have various different championships going on. If I'm not mistaken, over in Texas and Oklahoma, they have the RC Pro Series going on. And I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on up in the Northwest, up in the Midwest and in the Northeast, but there's lots of racing going on. In fact, we have a perfect situation with race time events. Imagine this, race time events, we have 4. We have SIC, PNB, Wicked Weekend, and AMS. Pretty much all the top racers are attending this, and Europeans are coming over. We literally have a series right there. All we need to do is throw some tech in there, throw some rules, and there we have a series. But here's where it gets tricky. Here's where Raw isn't thinking outside of the box. Why isn't Raw coming to these races and saying, hey, let's set up a booth. Let's do a member push. Let's offer our tech services. I get it. Nothing's for free. You have to pay the volunteers. But this is public relations. This is PR. You're going out there, set up a booth, have flyers, talk, work with these race promoters. Don't just look at their races as they're just off-road races doing whatever. These guys have the biggest races in the world. They don't need Roar. You need what they have. That's what's going on. Everybody says these race promoters need to get off their egos. They don't need Roar. They have a successful event. They have the population. They have the people going to these races. Roar needs that, not the vice versa. So Roar has to make the effort to go in and go meet these people. You walk to these races. The average person tells you, I don't need Roar. What do? I have these races I go to. I'm never going to a nationals. I'm never going to a worlds. That's sad because I am one of the biggest proponents of people joining Raw. I'm not telling you not to join Raw right now. I'm just telling you, I can't give you a good reason to join Raw besides going to the nationals and go into the worlds. I'm not saying don't get involved in Raw and make it different because that's what it needs. It needs more off-road people in it. But how can I rightfully encourage people to get involved in Raw if it seems like every time off-road people get in there, they get stonewalled? Nothing happens. I say, why waste the time? I say, guess what? We have everything we need in off-road to do our own thing. I'm not saying we don't stop supporting Raw. Yes, if you want to go to the nationals and you want to go to the worlds, pay your membership. Go. Enjoy it. If you want to have a say, pay your membership. If you want to get in Raw and you're interested in making rules and regulations and all that type of stuff, and you like that, fine, go be involved. But if you get in Raw and you think it's going to be about, we're going to push RC forward and make things changes, I beg you, please don't go do that. we could better use that energy in doing it ourselves and offer it. And guess what? If offer it gets bigger, everybody benefits, including Raw and everybody else. Offer it isn't the greatest. I mean, it isn't perfect, sorry, and the end all be all. But I would say that all the cool content, all the cool media, and everything is in the USA is coming out of offer it without any sanctioning body. We have all the ingredients to do really cool stuff. And I honestly do believe that the only way forward from here on out is one of two things. Either we need complete separation of the two main classes in ROAR. So we have on-road and a committee for on-road. We have a committee for off-road with a president. And let's say some other genre of RC, let's say Dirt Oval ever becomes a part of ROAR. They have their own committee. I don't know how it can all work. I'm an idiot. That's way above my pay level. But maybe the presidents from each one of those companies can sit on the committee of each other to have an awkward vote or just to know what's going on. But I think on-road should look after on-road and off-road should look after off-road. And then everybody benefits. If this can't be done, then I say we just continue doing what we're doing in off-road, doing cool stuff, having these big races. By far, off-road is not perfect and has its issues. Trust me, I tell you. But I say we just keep doing what we do. Support the Raw races. If you want to go to a Nationals, Thornhill this year is going to be awesome. The Worlds are coming to America next year. That's going to be awesome. We can support Raw and do that. Guess what? Raw needs us just as much as we need them to go to the Nationals and Worlds. But if we want to go forward and we want to push forward, we do need a sanctioning body. So that brings up the question. Do we try to fix what's going on in Raw and bring them up to speed where we are already in the off-road community? Trust me, we need some Raw in the off-road community too. We need some rules and regulations. We need some tech. That's something I agree with 100%. One of the reasons I think Raw should be involved more in these races and stuff like that. But do we waste time fixing Raw, or do we focus those efforts, keep doing what we're doing, and when the time is right, make our own organization and see where it goes? I don't know what the answer is. Maybe you guys can let me know in the comments right here. I know that I've kind of lost all hope with Raw getting up to speed and doing anything like that. I have kind of accepted that Raw is what it is. It's a sanctioning body with rules that holds the keys to go into an IFMAR World Championship. They have their nationals, which I believe if you're an RC fan or an RC racing fan, you should go to a nationals at least once. And I think you should go to a Worlds at least once as well. And I love these races, and I love the rules and the technicality and all that stuff involved in it. But I'm not going to look to Raw as that sanctioning body that's going to lead the charge into, not saying taking RC to the masses, but at least attempting to. Because I thoroughly believe the more content and the more awesome stuff we put out there, the more there's a chance of somebody seeing it and getting into RC. Yes, of course, we still need RC on the grassroots level at club levels. It's not just about big races and all this type of stuff, but just imagine an actual functioning federation that puts some money back into these club races and these club tracks as an affiliate and help them out and did things like that. That would be my dream situation, but it takes cooperation from everybody in that. It takes either, if we're going to get involved with Raw and fix it, we all need to be on board, and we need to have some stipulations about that. We really need some separation in the boards there in the committee. I don't know how it all works, but I think that will be a start right there. But we need people to man that. Or if we decide to do our own federation, we still need people to do that too. We also need the backing of the manufacturers. It's a long process. This isn't something that's going to take, is going to be done tomorrow or next year. We're talking about something happening in a few years from now. I, for one, I was always under the impression, let's fix Raw and let's go forward. But right now, I don't know if it's worth fixing Raw and bringing it up to that standard. But not up to that standard, but up to where we are as a community in the off-road. And this is off-road in general. Now, over in Europe, on-road seems to be very healthy, and they're doing, I know RC Racing TV, along with ETS and the Euros, are doing a lot of cool things with coverage. So I'm not just picking and just saying that off-road's doing all the great things here. We have people in on-road doing it as well, and other genres. So it's not just about off-road. I just think off-road has the most going on because we have the most races that have the most coverage. It's simple. Coverage equals exposure. Exposure also comes from promoting the races to local people and all that type of stuff. Do we need to just have a complete and total separation of Raw? Or do we need to work on forming our own federation that can still work with Raw in to a certain extent and grow our own thing? What should we call the new federation? I have a new name for a federation if we're going to start. Let's call it RCCAR, RCCAR or RCAR, Remote Control Association of Racers. I don't know. What would be the acronym if we was to start a new federation? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments. What should we do? Should we focus on fixing Raw? Should we look at Raw as just a sanctioned body for rules and regulations and just accept it as that and be happy with that? Or should we go out and try to fix them and hopefully get them into being a sanctioning body that wants to look forward and promote RC? Or should we just not waste our time, support Raw, go to their races, buy our memberships if we want to, and then do our own thing eventually? I don't know what the answer is. Part of me wants to fix it. Part of me wants to start fresh. All I know is I want to go forward. And if that means starting a new federation is the way forward, then so be it. If that means having a separate committee and people, more off-road people getting involved and having more say in what actually happens in off-road, so be it. But I think we need to go forward. And honestly, I have been the biggest supporter of Raw. I've also been their biggest critic when needed. We've had 2 years. We've had good intentions for things to happen in Raw, and there has been some improvements, and I applaud that. There's been a lot more transparency. There's been a lot more attention to social media. There's been a lot more attention to a lot of things, but I still think it's just not enough. And I don't know what the answer is for Raw. I really want them to work. I really want them to see off-road as something viable and something that they need, not just something for the money, but something that's worthwhile and has value more than just what's in our pocket. I want them to see that the value that off-road brings in our popularity, in the big races that we have and all that. That's where our real value is. It's not just in our money. It's what we've been doing in the industry without any help from Raw. So let me know in the comments. As an off-road community, do we need Raw to continue growing off-road and growing RC? I don't think so. Raw needs us. Do we need Raw for rules and regulations and go into the worlds and having a badass nationals? Absolutely. But guess what? They need us too, because we pay for that. You pay for your nationals and you pay for your worlds. A lot of money. So without the off-road racers, there is no badass nationals. And without the USA racers going to the worlds, there really is a shitty worlds, because we always want to see USA has one of the biggest teams that go to these worlds. So we want to see them go and compete. And they have the majority of the best racers in the world. Of course, we want to see them compete. I don't know what we do. All I know is that we need to continue going forward. And going forward means having cool races, working towards doing more cool things, media-wise, content-wise, everything like that, and continue to push and grow our industry so one day we do get that big sponsor in, or one day we do get our 15 minutes of fame that we shall get. I truly believe that we will get one day. I don't know how it's going to come, but I think we're going to get it. Hopefully it's a good way and everybody benefits from it, because one thing we can benefit from is definitely getting more people into RC racing and getting people out to tracks and racing. So at the end of this video, I'm not going to tell you not to support Raw or to support Raw. I think you have to make that decision for yourself. This video is not meant to bash Raw. This video is more meant to talk about a problem that is existing with Raw. And it is obviously a problem. It's not bashing to talk about this problem. It's not bashing to talk about how I feel as a person that's been supporting this federation for many years, vocally, privately, and on my own platform. I've supported Raw, still do, love the Nationals, love the Worlds, love that they made the decision to combine the ENATs and the Nitro Nats, still believe in rules and regulations, still believe that we need a sanctioning body to do awesome things in RC, still believe all of that. I just don't know if Raw is the one to do that. That's all. Maybe we just don't worry about that right now and focus on what we're doing and keep on doing that. that's kind of where I'm at right now. Fixing Raw is something that really isn't pivotal to what we got to do right now. Starting a federation would definitely help, or fixing Raw would definitely help. But I think right now, Off-Road's on such a good roll, and so much cool things are coming out of Off-Road, media-wise and race-wise, that right now, we're okay. We'll just keep doing what we're doing, focus on those things, use the World Nationals, love that race, go to the World Championship, support that, pay our membership, do all that type of stuff, and continue on. I think that's the easiest way to do things at this moment. Let's not waste time bashing Raw. Let's not waste time even expecting anything more from Raw. Let's just focus on the future and what we got going and doing that. And if the future means a different federation at some point, then I think that's the route we have to go. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And like I said, this is not a video to bash Raw. This is just an open conversation. We'll be back to discuss everything else that's been going on in RC on show 312. We're just waiting for Max. Max actually came down very sick. So get well, Max. I'm sure we'll be discussing my thoughts because Max has his own thoughts on this. And we'll have Roach, who's actually a Raw member and has participated in the Nationals, who will also weigh in on this as a Raw member. But like I said, you guys make your own decision what you want to do with Raw. I've made mine. I still support them from a national side of things and a world champion side of things and a rule side of things, but I do not really have any hope of them doing anything else besides that. So I just accept it at that. And whatever happens from here on out happens. We continue to go forward and doing cool things in RC. That's Lefty's simple thoughts for this week. I'll see you guys later. Look forward to show 312. Congratulations to Ryan Mayfield and Techno for the sweep, as well as to Seth Van Dalen. Big shout out to AJ Schumacher of the Nitro Compound for his excellent wins in intermediate. And a big shout out to Mr. Invisible Speed, Mr. JQ himself on his 40-plus win. And a great, and Cav also making the final. Well done. I think it was a good DNC for JQ, Mayako, and Invisible Speed. We greatly appreciate all you guys support here at the No Name RC podcast. Patrons get early release of this. And let us know what you think in the comments down below. Do we need Raw or not? Should we just continue on the road that we're going? And should another federation be in our thoughts at this moment? Lefty out.